Hello, everybody. Welcome to Chewed Gum. It is Tuesday, April 22nd. I am so excited because Taylor, Skeptical Heretic, is back after she saved the day last week. This is when we had actually planned to have her host with us. So I'm just really excited about that. I should have given like a jump scare warning that I didn't have time to do my hair today. So I already know that the chat is going to be like, what happened to Promise? This is the result of me being at American Atheist all weekend, having the best time ever, and also still trying to like work and have a life and do all the things I have to do. And that meant that I didn't have time to do my hair today because I'm still recovering.
Dude,
just a reminder. So good. Oh, thank you. Thanks. That was nice to like open up the screen and you were like, it looks good. I was like, oh, great. Because I was just in front of the mirror like, well, this is what's happening today. Just a reminder real quick for you guys that theists get priority. Taylor and I are especially eager to talk to theists tonight. I know you're watching. I know that you're all up in our comment sections, and some of you have arguments that you've tried to debate or wanted to present, and I can't do that in, Instagram form. So this is your chance to call in and talk with us. 720-619-2288. We'll also be taking questions about deconstruction. Usually we take questions on sexuality as well, and we'll do our best, but we don't have Alyssa here, who is our sexpert. So I might refer you to call back next week. But Taylor and I will do our best in the meantime. Taylor, after all that intro, how are you? Tell me, anything new or exciting since last week?
Not really. I'm glad I got, not a practice run, but I'm glad I got to do it once, and then I got to do it again this week because I'm always so nervous my first time, but I'm feeling a lot better this time. So it's all good.
Awesome. Well, you were amazing. I only heard really good things about last week. So I'm so excited. Otherwise, I would have been like, hey, found somebody else actually. No, we wouldn't.
Hey, maybe not.
You were great. I heard you were doing your TikTok live just before this. Mm-hmm. And I heard you say that you have guinea pigs, and we love talking about little critters over here. Alyssa usually has her doggies that she shows off. So I was curious if you would tell us a little bit about your guinea pigs.
Yeah, I have 2 guinea pigs and 2 rabbits, and I have a TikTok account for that too. Just because guinea pigs are so funny. They're just the weirdest, like, little creatures, but I love them so much. And I'm just like a really, really big animal lover, and I normally like to have animals that aren't like, I guess, are a cat or a dog. Like, I like small, cute things, so they match that description. So yeah, I love them. That's what I am doing when I'm not filming like my deconstruction content, is doing little things with them, because it's fun and it's a nice switch up. Like, deconstruction can be so serious all the time, so it's nice to have something that's just not serious and just fun. And it's funny because a lot of people will comment and be like, this is really weird seeing you like this happy and having fun. And I'm
Right.
like,
I know.
I promise I'm not like always like how I am on my deconstruction account, but yeah, I love it.
That's hilarious. I get that all the time. Like anytime I put, well, also the algorithm doesn't like to show my posts that are like just for fun or like showing my personality. It's like, no, we're going to show the part that makes you look like, you know, you're the angriest. So anytime like somebody is responding like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to finally see you happy. I'm like, guys, this is how I am all the time. This is just, you know, how it is over here. I did want to share with you guys before we get to calls how much I loved getting to meet so many of you this weekend. That was the coolest part. Also, I was up there like doing the panel and I look and right in front of me on the front row was one of our listeners, watchers, whatever you call it, wearing a chewed gum shirt. That was amazing. I'm not going to say anybody's names because I don't want to, you know, put anybody's privacy or mess with somebody's privacy. But it was so fun. A few of the listeners I got to like hang out with and go to lunch and dinner and like attend the events with. And you guys are all so cool. You're people I would just be friends with. And that's what I love about this is, you know, we get to kind of hang out every week, but this weekend was extra cool. Also, if you guys remember Tide's call that made Alyssa and I cry, I got to meet Tide. We FaceTimed Alyssa and we all hung out. And then Tide gave us friendship bracelets that he made for us. And I have to show you guys what mine says. I'm not going to share Alyssa's yet because I'm mailing it to her and so she can read it to you guys next week. But it says your mom, which is, as you guys know, my favorite joke. So that was so precious. It was just the best time. That was all amazing. And also one of my favorite parts was hanging out with Arden. Arden and I, we've already been friends. We've already hung out. But it's been, I think, like a year or so since we've hung out IRL, which is a privilege here in YouTube social media world. And so we were just like attached at the hip the whole weekend. And it was amazing. She's an incredible, incredible person, incredible friend to have. And she gave a speech Saturday morning at American Atheists confronting directly the transphobic rhetoric that's been circulating within the atheist and skeptic space. And she killed it. It was incredible. I mean, I was so proud, not just to be her friend, but like proud of her as a human. What she did was just really valuable. So there's my update for you guys on American Atheist Weekend. And I guess if you have any specific questions about it, you can super chat those. That might be a good prompt. The next one I was telling Taylor is going to be in DC in August of 2026. So I hope to see even more of you then. It was all around.
I definitely think I'll be there.
Please, that would be so fun. See, then we have to get Alyssa and then we can all hang out. It'll be the best. It's really crazy. Now I have met some watchers or listeners, whatever you guys want to be called. And I still haven't met Alyssa. So.
Oh, really?
Yes. Isn't that crazy?
That's so funny.
Have you met any of the, like anybody from our space in person yet?
Literally nobody.
Okay. We have to change this.
I know. I keep telling myself that, but I don't know. I don't know why I haven't. But I won't lie. I'm pretty introverted, so I feel like I have to push myself to get out of my awkwardness, but that's okay. I'm so willing to do that.
Well, we'll make it worth it. I mean, I feel I'm not introverted, but I'm very socially awkward. I was homeschooled, so, you know, I'm not trying to act like I'm some cool person. So anytime somebody would come up this weekend and they would be like, oh, I'm so nervous. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to bother you. I'm like, no, I'm nervous and I'm weird and I don't want to bother you. So please, like, say hi, let's hang out. This is why I came here. So it was an all around amazing time. Sorry, not even getting to mute myself in time for that cough. We have some callers. I'm hoping for more theist callers. I know you're out there. We've got one person calling in, and they are spiritual, they say. I'm not entirely sure what that means, so maybe we can find out. And his name is William, and he says that women do need Jesus. So let's find out what that's all about. If I can get the call to pick up. There we go. Hey, William, you are live on Chewed Gum with Promise and Taylor. How are you tonight? William, you might need to tap your...
Yep.
Oh, there you are. Hey, William, how are you?
Good. Boy, big fan. Especially, I've just noticed Eve. I've watched her before, and she's even more gorgeous than when her hair is, not so gorgeous.
The hair is happening tonight. What's your question that you had for us?
So, the Spice Girls. Are you familiar with Mary and Martha in the New Testament, where Mary sits at Jesus' feet and Martha's a busybody?
I'm familiar with that narrative of that story. Yeah.
So, would you say Mary has more need for Jesus than Martha?
In that particular story, we could say that was the situation. Maybe. In what way do you mean, like, needed Jesus?
Well, she seems to be, pretty impressed by him and, hanging on his every word. I guess, first of all, do you guys believe this is a historical event?
No, I don't. Taylor, do you?
Really?
All I know, or all I think, is that Jesus probably existed at one point, and that's it. Like, I think probably a lot of the stuff written in the Bible didn't actually, well, obviously the supernatural stuff, but even things that he said or normal things that he did, I don't know if any of that stuff happened. I assume most of it is made up.
But a lot of people will say, that try to place Jesus in history, that are historians like myself, believe that the mundane things are credible and have a certain verisimilitude. I mean, wouldn't you agree with that? That why would you? There's nothing really out of the ordinary here, correct?
I just don't. I feel like things can get lost in translation or lost over time, and there's a lot of.
Sure,
I've just seen a lot of historic people who certain quotes are attributed to them, but in reality, they never said them. So I keep things like that in mind when thinking about Jesus in the Bible and things that he said.
What are you?
Well, and
William, what do you think the consequences are if that story isn't historically true? What would that mean for you?
Not much. It would just mean that it's legendary embellishment. That that still there. I believe because of the criteria of embarrassment, Jesus being baptized by John and Jesus crucified seem to be historical events because of the criteria of embarrassment, which I believe.
The criteria of what?
Embarrassment.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
It's embarrassing that Jesus would be baptized by John. John should be baptizing Jesus, or Jesus should be baptizing John.
So something being embarrassing makes it more likely to be true? I'm really confused.
Of course, that's one of the scholarly. There's criteria we use: multiple attestation if it's in multiple independent accounts, like Q and M and L and Matthew. Matthew special source M, Luke special source L, and the Q. You're familiar with the Q document, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's been lost. So when we have these multiple independent witnesses, obviously Paul's letters is one too, then we tend to believe it's a historical account. And embarrassment go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I never took that story of Jesus being baptized as embarrassing. I thought it was like showing that he was humble or something like that.
Yeah, that's the Christian apologetic, that he's showing Christians, the right way to do things.
Okay.
But back to the women, we have a rich tradition of women I think in Acts, the woman that sold purple goods was welcoming Paul and the apostles. So they're women. Women were the ones. Oh, talk about criteria of embarrassment. Who was the first person in Mark to
But
visit the
criterion of
tomb?
embarrassment, that is still just a clue along the way. That does not point to something being actually true. I could make up a story right now that sounds really embarrassing about whoever I feel like it, and it being embarrassing does not mean that it is true. There are so many more things
You're absolutely right.
that have to come into play. So I'm still
You're absolutely right. It's a
still not seeing
criteria.
any reason to believe any of these stories are 100% true, because this could also be a story that happened with somebody else, and with this Mary and Martha figure that was then eventually turned into this story because it made sense to go along with some of the things they thought Jesus stood for, or would make for a nice part of the storyline.
You're absolutely right, that could be. But something that is far more crucial, the women discovered the tomb of Jesus. So why would you, when women only, their testimony was only half as good as a man's, I think sometimes they weren't even allowed to testify in court. And so why in the world would you make up a story where the women discovered the tomb of Jesus?
We don't know if it was made up or not. And I can think of all kinds of reasons, because that story is much more interesting than a story of men finding him because of the exact reasons you said. So if I was trying to write a good story and I wanted it to be noticed and I wanted to be provocative with it, along with a lot of things that Jesus already said that were very provocative for those days, then that would make so much sense for me to go along and have that as part of the story. This is also so subjective. So why are we letting these subjective things dictate whether we think something is factually true or not?
Because people want to elevate women. I mean, the Christian tradition is women. Like I said, the woman that sold the purple goods, women played a big part in the early church. And now, what's
when Paul was telling them not to speak, that's when they were playing a big part.
That's what I was going to go over. See, Paul didn't write First Timothy, where it says, "Women, I do not permit a woman to teach men to speak in church." Those sort of things were written by someone other than Paul. It was written by Timothy. Paul actually had great regard for women.
How did you reach
that
conclusion?
What's confusing is because we have contradictory things in the New Testament where Paul's exalting women and the writer of Timothy, probably in 100 AD or whatever, was denigrating women. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I'm still trying to understand, then how can you conclusively say that Christianity has upheld women when my experience in Christianity has been the exact opposite? And so has many, this is a kind of one of the features of a lot of versions of Christianity, because there's so many versions, which is that there is a hierarchy with God, then men, then women, then children. And there's nowhere in the Bible that is consistent in its messaging on the value that women hold. Because as you just pointed out, it contradicts itself over and over again. So you can call us and say, oh, the Bible supports women and it stands up for women. And I can have somebody else call in and say the exact opposite. And you both have probably similar amounts of reasons to believe that.
Right. But there's a rich tradition. Are you familiar with the Acts of Paul and Priscilla?
Yep.
So, my Lord, Priscilla's about to get married and she's engaged. She hears Paul's preaching.
William, this isn't answering my question at all. I just pointed out, you can point out a few things in the Bible that you say, oh, see, women are valued. And then somebody else can call in and say the exact opposite. And the version of Christianity that I grew up in, women have to be subservient to men. And they use the Bible and their versions of it and their theology to support that. So you called in to say women need Jesus. I think that might be where we need to focus here, because I really am not interested in the Bible. That's, as Taylor and I both said, we don't believe in that the Bible is historic, that the Bible is a historical account.
Right. And it is sad that women have been, marginalized in the Christian tradition. Obviously, women are not allowed to teach. They're not allowed to be elders or deacons, which is really sad, isn't it? There's a girl named Godless Granny. I don't know if you're familiar with Kelly.
No, but I mostly wanted us to stay on topic with the conversation. So if you're calling in to say women need Jesus, let's focus on that. Do you think that Taylor and I need Jesus?
Well, you seem to be doing pretty good, right now. I don't know. It might broaden your horizon. What do you think? I mean, so you're saying you don't need Jesus at all, correct?
I don't. Well, I wouldn't even begin to know what that means. But if I guess, then no, I don't believe that I need Jesus. Taylor, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, usually when people say I need Jesus, they're mostly talking about salvation. And I don't think I've done anything that someone needs to die over, or there has to be some kind of human sacrifice over. So, no, I don't feel like I need forgiveness for being an imperfect person.
Right. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. But, you got to pay for Adam's sin, right? I mean, you were born into sin.
Why?
That God, when he
I don't
sees
believe
you,
that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the Bible teaches that God just, looks at you and repulsed that you're not even able to come to Jesus, that you're not even capable, according to the Romans, that you're just so lost, and the effects of sin, are just so deep and devastating that, it takes the Holy Spirit to go and bring you. You're not capable by yourself or able to come to Jesus. So I guess you would need Jesus from that point of view, right?
Do you think we're born into sin?
Huh?
Do you think we're born into sin? Is this what you're saying? Like,
I'm just saying I just go with what the Bible says. It says that, we've inherited Adam's sin, and, the old thing,
right,
all of our good deeds are like filthy rags, that sort of thing.
So I guess my question is, like, why should I be begging for forgiveness or ask for salvation for something that was outside of my control?
You got a point. I gotta hand it to you. I mean, because I really like what you guys say. So, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, it in this situation that you're describing, even if we were to say, sure, let's take a look at what the Bible says, which it continues to contradict itself even on this topic, but let's just go with the narrative that you just laid out for us, that you're telling us that we would need to go seek forgiveness from a God who essentially designed us to go to hell. We were created with that intention. If that God knew everything that was going to happen before he even created us, and then decided to create us anyways, knowing that Taylor and I would be atheists and would not believe, then we were created to go to hell. And that's not a God I want to seek forgiveness from.
You're so spot on, and it's very biblical. In Romans, it talks about, I hated Esau and loved Jacob. Esau's like, what did I do? I'm not even born yet. So, yeah, what Christians even don't get, the Arminian Christians, only the Calvinist Christians get this, is God's sovereignty, that God decides, yeah, you're going to go to hell. I've chosen some of you for reprobation for, a life's eternity in the hell. And you go, whoa, that doesn't seem fair. Oh, well, guess what? You're not God. God's sovereignty is the, be all and end all, not your personal views or choices or attitudes. Does that make sense?
So do you think God is a just God if he is creating people just to send them to eternal torture?
No,
you think that is like justice?
That's our perspective. Just like in the Old Testament where Saul, Saul says, God, look, I've killed the Amalekites, I've killed the women, I've killed the children, babies, everything, and I killed even, the camels and sheep and all, and he got, but I didn't kill the sheep. And he goes, didn't I tell you to kill the sheep too? He goes, well, I thought I'd use a few sheep for sacrifice. Give me a break. And God goes, no, you killed the sheep too. Does that not show God's total sovereignty and that he's in control? He doesn't give.
It's a story. No, it doesn't. It's a story in a book that I'm taking just as seriously as anybody calling in with any other book that I don't find validity in. I guess I'm just curious, what are your beliefs, William? Are you a Christian? Do you believe in the God of the Bible? Do you think that God exists?
I think certain parts of the Bible, like, killing the Amalekites, that doesn't make God look too good, does it? Certain parts, mundane parts, like, for example, Mark 6, where his brothers and sisters are going, look, we got to get this guy out of here. He's nuts. And he couldn't do any great miracle. Why in the world would you say that about, your leader, your savior?
So I understand that you are excited to talk about the Bible, but I'm trying to get us on track for a conversation surrounding your beliefs, because that's what we do on this show. So if you're just wanting to talk like biblical theology and stuff, it might be fun for you to call when Paulogia is on, but that's not typically the kind of calls we focus more on. Okay, what is it that you believe? And it says here that your claim is that women do need Jesus. So
you guys have convinced me you women do not need Jesus, but obviously lots of Christian women feel a need for Jesus, as did Mary, in the old.
According to the story, but I do think that you're right in that you said they feel like they have that need because they've been told that they do. They've been sold this idea that there is this disease they have that they need a cure for. And in my and Taylor's perspective, we don't think that disease exists, that disease of sin and Adam and all of that. But thank you so much for calling, William. We're going to let you go and move on to our next caller. Have a great evening.
I appreciate it. Bye.
Bye, William.
Thank you. Bye. He was very nice. I think we have some people that want to get into the Bible. How do you feel about that? Because to me, I'm so over those days. I already did all of that. To me, it's like if there's no God, then why am I interested in what the Bible? First, you have to convince me that there's a God.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, it just depends for me on how they're approaching it. Sometimes I engage with it, and sometimes I'm like, no, because sometimes apologetics really makes me mad. But sometimes people, are open to a more interesting conversation. So I guess it just depends.
Yeah, I'm with you. We do have another theist caller, and they want us to present evidence to refute the existence of a creator. So
nice.
let's talk to David. Hey, David, you are live on Chewed Gum with Promise and Taylor. How are you? Oh, and we lost David. David, if you call back, hopefully that was just an accident. But if you call back, we'll bump you back to the front of the line. In the meantime, I can give our announcements, maybe, if I can remember how to use an iPad. Somewhere over here. Announcements. Got it. I should know this one because the hang up is tomorrow night. And I am going to be on with Matt Dillahunty, of course. So excited for that. And that will be my last The Hang Up guest host for a while because then I'll be on a 7-hour time difference for quite some time. Then we have TACIS on Thursday at 2 p.m. with Ben and Josie. That brings us to the Sunday show. The earlier show is Matt and Seth Andrews. And the After Dark show is Forrest and Eric SS. Then Skeptalk is Monday with Aaron Raw and Erica Gibbon. And then Tuesday night, Alyssa's back. I'm so happy. I have missed her, although I've really enjoyed getting to have Taylor on too. So that's been a fun surprise that we got you 2 times in a row. And I'm really excited to see an episode with you and Alyssa hosting together, hopefully in the future. But Alyssa and I will be reunited next week. And that will be my last Chewed Gum for a while too, because like I said, I'm headed out after that. So that's our announcements. And David did call back. I took long enough that worked out. So let's talk to David. Let's see. Hey, David, let's try
Hello.
this again. You are live on Chewed Gum. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me good now?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Let's hear it. What did you want to call in about?
I was just wondering, like, what evidence do you guys have to come to the conclusions you guys did, where you believe you become atheists and you don't believe in any creator?
I never argue that. I never argue that. I know that God doesn't exist or something like that. I just don't assume he exists. So I just don't believe the God claim. I'm not making a claim that he doesn't exist. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I guess then my follow-up question would be like, okay, so what kind of thought processes did you get to come to that conclusion?
Just lack of proof, essentially.
And what's proof to you?
So any kind of evidence whatsoever, like if there was anything that pointed to the existence of a God, that would already be a really helpful start. What happened for me is I very much believed that a God existed for most of my life. And then I decided to actually start, learning more about these God beliefs that I had and where they came from. And I was looking to strengthen them, actually. I was looking to know more about the Bible. I was trying to learn more about the world around me, and then how to convince other people that this God existed, because I didn't want my friends to go to hell. And it all started falling apart. I realized I didn't have any good reason to believe that the God of the Bible existed, much less any gods at all. And I learned about burden of proof, which is where the burden of proof or evidence lies on the claimant. So somebody making the claim, or the claim there is a God, that would have to be met with some sort of evidence in order to believe it. Like Taylor said, we're not making a claim there is no God. We simply aren't going to believe things unless we have a reason to believe them. I only want to believe things that are true, and I do the best in my life. That doesn't always work out, but to stick with that value.
All right, that was a reasonable kind of point. But I guess my question would be, you're an atheist, right? You consider yourself
Correct.
an atheist?
Yep.
So what is the definition of an atheist?
Somebody that doesn't believe in any gods.
Okay, so you have a belief then, right? So you're believing just like a person in religion has a belief.
Nope. Try
Lack of
again.
belief.
Listen. Yeah, it's somebody who does not believe in any gods. It's a lack of belief.
Exactly. So you have a belief that there is no God.
That's not the same as a belief.
Literally the opposite of what I just said.
Okay, so like my understanding as an agnostic, I was once an agnostic, and I had no belief. I mean, I had no idea, or I just didn't know, right? And so I would say an agnostic has no burden of proof, right? They just say, I don't know. But if you're an atheist, then you are making a claim. You're saying there's no God, right? Like in a way, you are making a claim.
No, I just explained this. Somebody who's an atheist is someone that does not believe any gods exist. It is a lack of belief. I also would say that I don't know, just like Taylor already pointed out, which those people sometimes call themselves, which I call myself this, an agnostic atheist. I don't know if there are any gods or not, but I don't believe that there are. I'm not convinced. And I think agnostics should ask themselves, even if you say you don't know if there's a God, are you convinced there is, or are you convinced that there is a God, or are you not convinced that there's a God? Because there's still a question to be asked there, even if you say you don't know. I agree. I don't think any of us can know, because I think most God claims are unfalsifiable. But to say that it's a belief is just lying. It's not a belief. It takes zero belief for me to sit here and not believe in any gods.
Fair enough. And so another point you mentioned was evidence. And so, I mean, if you ask a theist, the evidence is all around them, right? The order, the structure, the physical constants we have. If you look at Planck's constant, or the motion of an electron, like all these constants are required for order and matter to come together. And so if you ask a theist, they will say the evidence is all around you. And then if you ask the atheist, on the other hand, they say, well, this is all from natural processes, right? God didn't command, or no scripture came down and said E equals MC squared, right? So I could understand both sides, but my question is what is evidence to you, right?
A reason to believe that a God exists.
So what would that evidence look like? Like, what kind of evidence would convince you if God struck you right now? Like, if God strikes you right now,
no
it's a classic
idea.
atheist, agnostic.
I
if
have
I'm-
no
You have
idea
no
whatsoever.
idea.
If
Okay,
I'm
so
going
if
to
you have
believe
no idea,
in
then that's not.
if I'm going to believe in some kind of supernatural claim, then I'm going to need evidence for something like that. Like, I'm not going to believe in supernatural, essentially magic things if I've never seen that ever, and it's never been proven, anything like that. As far as if
So evidence to you would be something above the
Taylor
physical,
was in
right?
the
So metaphysical.
still finished. I want to let Taylor finish what she was saying, please.
I also feel like the if God is real, I feel like the burden would be on him, considering he knows what would convince every single person. Because obviously, at one point in time, if you believe in the whole Jesus story, he was willing to provide proof and show people, if that happens. So I guess why wouldn't he be willing to do that to other people, and instead expect them to attribute random things to him creating it?
So that you brought up a really good point, and I'll just go with that. So would you say that rationality could be potentially a proof of evidence for the existence of God? Because if you look at the animal kingdom, or many different animal species, they have evolved not to have rationality or consciousness in the sense that we define it, even though neuroscientists are still battling with the idea of consciousness and what the actual definition is. But let's say rationality and having logic and reasoning, right? Would you argue, could you, I guess, understand a way where we could argue maybe that rationality and having logic and reasoning was not required for evolution, and for us to evolve? If you take the
That's not a
Go
good
ahead.
that's not a good argument for a God. Rationality can be explained naturally. AI has the ability to ration things, and the universe isn't that rational, as you already pointed out. So us humans having rationality is not an argument for anything.
So do you think rationality evolved from random physical processes?
Yeah, I think it's biological evolution.
But what is the necessity for, so just to evolve, right? Fitness, you have to reproduce, eat, and survive. Rationality is not really required for survival of the fittest and for us to continue on our species.
Except apparently it is in our case, because here we are using rationality, and that's what's helped us. But also, David, I think you're still fundamentally missing something about atheism. Even if I had no answer for you, even if I said I have no idea where rationality came from or what its purpose is, I still see no reason to believe that it came from a God.
Yeah, but again, let's go back to why we brought up
not having an answer for something. Not having an answer for something is not a good reason to therefore fill in the blank with God.
No, we're not going God of the gaps here. I know that's a classic kind of argument point, you guys, but that's not where I'm going here. Where I'm going here is that we talked about we're looking for evidence, right? Like any kind of evidence, or I don't know what that evidence would be, or that's how we got here, and that's why I thought of rationality, because for us to have rationality and to think through things, we could come to the conclusion that potentially there could be a creator, right? We could think about it because it's above the physical, right? I can't go in the lab and demonstrate or use empirical evidence to demonstrate the existence of God.
Why is that? Also, I just have to ask real quick, David, because I'm hearing road noises. You're not driving, are you?
I am on. I do have you guys on speaker, but I don't have my phone to my
Yeah,
head.
we can't take callers while they're driving and talking at the same time. Do you want to
Okay,
pull over so
sure.
we can
I can
continue
call
the
back.
conversation? Are you able to pull over
Sure.
soon, or you want to call back another time?
Yeah. No, I could pull over. I'll give me a second.
Taylor, do you remember the last thing that was being said so that we can do you have a response to it? Or should we ask him to repeat himself when he pulls over?
One thing I was going to ask was why, like, even if we did come to some kind of conclusion that there's some higher being or God, why would it be his God? Why would we commit to one God? And I also wouldn't dedicate my whole life to an assumption. Like, I would need proof of something if I'm going to dedicate my whole eternal afterlife to it. I want to have proof for that. So, and I think that's the absolute bare minimum. So when people say God shouldn't have to prove himself to you, I think if you're asking for someone's eternal soul, that's literally the bare minimum, is proving that you're real. So that's where I'm at with it.
For sure. Well, and my other problem is that it still is very much like, but there maybe could be, like, if it's this undetectable thing, well, then I'm not interested. If it's not detectable and there's no evidence for it, then what is the point? Especially when we have so many answers for so many of the things that are being talked about. So, David, you back with us?
All right. Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, sorry.
So,
did you hear anything we were saying?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
We just wanted to see if you heard what we just were saying while you were pulling over.
Yeah, I kind of heard. So I guess one of the points I heard was, why would I, if this creator is, or no, one of them. Okay, let me start with, why would I believe in this God? Or there's many claims of different gods, right? You could even be polytheist, where there's multiple gods. But I'll just say, for my personal view, and where I came to, is I believe in one creator, right? One God, monotheistic. So why believe in this God? I mean, I don't think we could get there unless we could ration whether or not a God exists, right?
Can I ask you
the last
why
caller was talking about the Bible and all that.
Can I ask you why you would reach the conclusion that there's only one God? Why couldn't there be multiple gods in this scenario? If indeed some of these things you've pointed out, saying like, oh, this is evidence that there could be a God, why couldn't it have been multiple gods working together?
Because I personally believe that there would be no order, right? If there was multiple gods, meaning there would be multiple wills, multiple opinions, multiple things, there would be no order. One God would want one thing, the other God would want another thing, and there would be chaos.
How do you know they weren't just?
That's just my reason. That's just my reasoning. That's my belief. You asked me a question.
Right, and I'm asking you more. So the next question is why? How did you reach that conclusion? Like, how would you know? Why couldn't it just be many gods? What if, in fact, one God couldn't do it on its own because one God is good at this one thing and one God is good at the other thing, and they are just really in sync and like flow together and kind of like a band where you need all the different parts? Why couldn't that be the case?
I mean, that's a possibility, right? We could always say, what if? What if this is the case?
Exactly.
Or this is the case?
Exactly.
I'm just telling you my reasoning.
Right, but I don't think it's good reasoning, because based off of your reasoning, I could assert that there is, everybody's going to love the pink unicorn is back, there is a sparkly pink unicorn that is like invisible, completely unable to be detected by anything natural because it's metaphysical, it's outside of this realm, and it is the creator of all, and it's in charge. Prove to me that it's not, That's where we could go with this kind of reasoning.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You could believe in that, and that's totally your belief system. You could believe in that. But
and then I'm going to say that this unicorn,
why would you believe in that?
Then I'm going to say that this unicorn also is going to send you, David, to an eternity of torture because you were driving while you were on the phone with us, and this unicorn appeals to the line's policies. So now you're going to go to hell forever. Do you see how this gets, like, we can just throw things out then? Why? Like, do you see how silly this gets when we don't instead try to believe things that are true?
No, absolutely not. I would just say, what's your reasoning to believe in this pink unicorn? And then, again, what conclusions have you come to to believe in this pink unicorn, right? So
Well,
that's what I would say.
there's
I
a
mean,
book.
believing
There's a
in a
book
pink
about it.
unicorn in the
There's a book about the pink unicorn, and I also have been visited by the pink unicorn. I've had my personal experiences that just line up and it makes sense. And based off of what I've read about this pink unicorn, and after like it's visited me and taught me how to read the books about it in a way that like explains the world around me, it just is what makes sense. That's just my reasoning that I'm following.
That's awesome. I would love a copy of that book so I could give it a read, because I've looked at a lot of religions and I've looked at a lot of religious texts. And that's kind of how I came to the conclusion of where I am personally, and my strong conviction that there is a creator, right? But yeah, I'm happy if there is an actual book on the pink unicorn, and everything you just said and claimed about this pink unicorn is true and it's written in this book. I would love to give it a read.
Yeah, it's sitting right here on my desk, actually. I wrote it myself, so.
David,
you wrote it yourself.
David,
Okay.
but
Well, like,
that's,
I mean, what kind
David,
of conversation
that's where
are we
we're
getting
going with
into?
it.
I mean,
That's precisely my point.
No,
The
but
burden of
that's
proof is on the claimant. And so if you're saying that it's not, if you're saying it's just based off of, well, it could be, therefore I'm going to believe it, that's not a good reason, because do you see what a slippery slope that is? Why wouldn't you instead suspend belief until you know if something is true or not? Why are you going to believe in an entire God and only one, because I guess that's what you're cool with, when you have just as many good reasons as I do to believe some other made up thing? Or what if somebody comes along with a religion that you've never heard of before, and now it makes more sense than the one you currently believe in? Are you just going to keep evolving to new religions because you have to have a God?
absolutely not. I mean, again, I would question whether or not you've investigated all the major religions, right? Have you, or whatever, have you done at least some investigation?
You
besides
must
the
be
Bible?
new here.
Because,
You must be new here. Yes, I have investigated them. It's how I stopped being a believer. But I'm still asking, like you're
what's
pointing
that,
to
just
other
the
religions.
Bible?
What is the reason for believing that any God exists? And I still haven't heard a good reason. Taylor, do you have any
Well, you
specific
spend a
questions?
considerable, you guys spend a
Yeah, David.
considerable amount of time like discussing whether a God exists or not. I mean, I would say that, just reading one religious text like the Bible, and I mean, the Bible is contradictory. I agree with you guys. I mean, there's a lot of falsified and provable falsified information in there. So just
David,
looking at the
nobody
Bible,
should
I mean,
have
I
to.
don't think that
First of
alone.
all, that's not the only thing I've looked at, as I just said. But nobody should have to read any religious text. If there is a God, there should be some kind of evidence that this God exists. If it's only in this book that we have to read, that's not evidence of a God. Is a Spider-Man comic
But
book
again,
evidence of Spider-Man?
yeah, well, again, you look at the claims and what's written in this book, right? But I
So
wouldn't
then,
even want to get to a
then you
book or a
need to
religious
go.
text
So then,
unless,
based off of that, you need to go read every single religious text that you ever heard of, and you better make sure you find all of them. Because what if there's one in some village that you've never been to that has not gotten their religious text out into the rest of the world yet, and they're the ones that have the right one? How do you figure it out?
I have read most of the religious texts, and that's how I've come to my conclusion. But just to backstep again, like talking about religious texts and talking about religions don't make any sense unless we could come over the hump of whether or not a God exists or a creator exists or a supreme being exists or not. Because, I mean, going into the religious text and all that, I mean, it's all futile. It's futile. So
correct.
I
That's
would
what we've been saying. So I want to give Taylor a chance to ask a question now. On that note, talking about if there is even a God at all.
David, I was just gonna ask if God is real and it is the Christian God, what if we did all we could to investigate and did all we could to try and convince ourselves, and our brain still isn't convinced, and we can't like force ourselves to believe? Then how do you feel about that?
I mean, everybody's on their own journey in life, right? So I personally believe when you die, you're down there by yourself, right? I'm not going to ask mom and dad to come save me or spouse or kids or anything. You're down there by yourself, right? So it's really, I would say it's up to you to figure out whether or not, and you could come to the conclusion like, oh yeah, I'm not convinced, and when I die, it's all over, right? The same justice that a guy like Mao or Adolf Hitler has is the same justice I'll get at, because we both just die and we disintegrate or whatever. There's no justice after, right? So the same kind of fate that these like horrible dictators had, we're going to have the same fate. That didn't sit well with me. So that's why I started investigating a little. I said, this can't be all, right? And, you know, whatever, we don't have to go down that road. But what I'm saying is that when you die, you're going to be down there by yourself. You're alone, right? And so either you made the right decision or you didn't. And none of us could absolutely prove what happens after you die, because I've yet to find somebody that could come back from dead and tell us,
the point I'm making is that,
or, hey, I seen God.
The point that I'm making is that it wasn't a decision, is what I'm saying. And like how you said, it doesn't sit right with me that people don't get justice or whatever at the end of their lives. I don't think it's very just to send people to some kind of eternal torture for not being convinced of something when I can't force my brain to be convinced of something. And if God's real, he created me that way.
Yeah, no, I would, you know, again, I would say that at the end, it's really on the Creator's decree whether somebody goes to heaven or hell, right? I can't say that, oh, this guy right here is going to hell. Like, that's not my authority. And I personally don't care. I mean, that's not up to me. Again, like when I'm down there, I'm by myself. I'm not caring about Jonathan or Zach or whoever.
You think it's
right?
just
I'm
that?
worried about myself. And so I do think there will be justice, right? I mean, whether you go to hell or not for not believing in God is ultimately up to God, right? It's not up to me.
So
I can't
are
tell
you
you
telling
you're
me
going to go to heaven or hell.
So you don't care if Taylor or I go to hell? That doesn't bother you? That idea? Or as somebody that you care about? Do you care if anybody goes to hell or not?
Well, that's not, I mean, it's not that I don't care or I do care. I mean, it's just, it's not a relevant conversation because it's not going to matter, right? Whether I care whether or not somebody goes to heaven or hell doesn't change anything. It's not going to change somebody's fate, right?
I'm asking you, do you care if somebody goes to hell or not?
I mean, I clearly do. I wouldn't be calling into this show if I didn't care, right? If I didn't care, I could continue living my life doing whatever the hell I was doing. And, you know, we all have busy lives, right?
Convince us that hell even exists. This is like a pretty big threat you're issuing. Like, we could be eternally tormented. So if I thought that was...
I haven't threatened...
David, if I thought that was... I'm not saying you're threatening it, but you're stating that you believe in a universe where Taylor and I may end up going to hell for all of eternity. And when I believed that deeply upset me, and I did everything in my power to try to figure out how to convince other people that was true, which is ultimately what led to me realizing that I had no reason to believe that. So I'm asking, why would you not care, and why would you not want to find reasons to convince somebody that hell is real?
Well, a couple points here. I am calling onto the show to try to convince you of a creator. And then secondly, I'll play devil's advocate. Do you think the rapist that raped women all his life and was a child molester or did like horrendous crimes, do you think that person should have the same fate as you and Taylor?
David, that's not answering my question at all. I am asking you something very specific.
But I'm just playing devil.
No. I'm not.
Okay, well, I'll answer your question.
I'm not playing a game with right. I'm asking specific questions for a reason.
Okay, so to answer your question, I mean, it's not yes or no. It's, again, I'm saying that whether or not I care is irrelevant, right? Because I'm not the supreme being that's going to issue you going to heaven or hell, and I'm not even threatening you're going to go to heaven or hell.
You called the show that I host, and I'm asking you the question because I'm trying to figure out why you would worship. So do you care or do you not care if people go to hell?
Well, to answer it clearly, I wouldn't be calling on this show if I didn't care. So I do care, but whether I'm just trying to say whether I care or not is irrelevant, right? I mean, it's irrelevant.
According to the Bible, it's extremely relevant because we have multiple commands in the Bible to spread the gospel and to offer people salvation.
I don't believe in the Bible. I don't believe that the Bible was
So you believe,
preserved
why
or
do
is
you,
even the
okay, so
word of
why
God.
do you believe that a hell exists?
I believe heaven and hell exist because there are people in that have existed now and existed before us and will exist after us that are wicked people, right? That are people that do horrendous crimes and kill millions of people or harm, a few people, whatever it is, whether it's like the rapist or it's, a dictator that's killing millions of people. I mean, there's, objectively, there are horrendous people that exist, right? So I think there is a place for people like that, right? And whether or not they go there or not is not my decision. I don't get to choose that, but I would believe that that's where they will end up. And whether you or Taylor go to hell or heaven, again, is not up to me. And so we can't say you're going to go to hell just because you don't believe in God. I mean, that's not. But what I am
David,
saying is that when you're
I
down there, when you're
understand,
6 feet under, or if
David, I understand wanting heaven or hell to be real. It sounds nice, doesn't it? It sounds nice that there are terrible people that even though we never see them face any sort of justice here, that they're going to someday. I also think it would be really nice if I was going to win the lottery tomorrow. That would be amazing. I have some big bills that I actually need to pay, and that would be so helpful. So should I just believe that I'm going to win the lottery tomorrow because that would be like really great and convenient for that to be true?
So again, the reason why we brought up whether or not I believe heaven and hell was because
David,
we
that
went
was
into that
a yes or no
conversation.
question.
That's not the
David,
reason why I believe in God.
David, that was a yes or no question. Is that a good reason to believe something? Because it sounds nice.
No, that's not a good reason to believe something, but that's not my argument here. My argument's not because I want heaven and hell to exist that I believe in heaven and hell. No, absolutely not. I say that's part of the process.
But David, I just
of
asked you,
believing in a
why do you
creator.
believe in a heaven or hell? And that's what you just told us. So do you want to try again and tell us why you think heaven and hell is real?
No, well, again, I believe in a heaven and hell. You asked me a very specific question about heaven and hell and why hell exists and stuff like that.
I just asked. I just
Specifically
said
hell.
why. I just said why do you believe that heaven and hell are real?
Okay, why do I believe heaven and hell? Because I believe in a creator, and that's why I believe in heaven and hell. Like, basic thing, because the creator exists, and I've been convinced of a creator existing, and that's why I'm saying, like, talking about all these secondary questions, which are like, why does this happen? Why is this? Why is that? Like, none of them are like gonna go anywhere unless we could overcome the idea of whether or not a creator, a deity, an uncaused cause, right? When we talk about the origins of the universe, something that was uncaused, that was before everything, that was always here, that caused everything to be in existence. And so unless we could get there, I don't think talking about religion or talking about heaven and hell like really matters because it's all futile, right?
Why if there's a God, does there have to be a heaven or hell? That's like a very Christian thing, and you said you don't believe in the Bible, so there are so many different gods who have been created over time that did not create the system of heaven and hell. So why does believing in God equal believing in heaven and hell?
Okay. Yeah, great question. Well, so again, believe the first step, at least the way I went through it, was like whether or not a God exists, right? Is there a creator? And then once you overcome that, then you go to the next step. If there is a creator, did this creator communicate with us? Is there because there's a bunch of religions claiming that this creator.
Whoa, we just skipped a big whole chunk. How did we figure out there's a creator?
I didn't say that. I'm just giving you my logic to the question she just said.
And I'm trying to follow it. So you said you ask if there's a creator. Okay, now I want to follow your logic. So show me your logic on how you reach the conclusion that yes, there is a creator. Because you're right, we can't get anywhere until we get that.
Okay, great. So it goes back to the origins of the universe, and so I don't know what your guys' understanding of like the Big Bang and all that, but my understanding of the Big Bang is that at some point there was a singularity, right? A very finite, like atom, whatever, smaller than an atom, that kind of exploded and caused everything else to be in existence. Regardless, if you believe in the multiverse theory, then our universe spawned from another universe, and our universe has given rise to other universes. But again, the origins of the universe. So what was always there? What was there before the Big Bang, or what was there before the original universe, right? So it had to be something that was uncaused, because everything that we see right now was caused, right?
Why? Why does it have to be that? David, why does it have to be something that was uncaused?
Because that's our basic understanding of science right now. Everything that's come to existence is caused.
No, that's not even our basic understanding. Let me tell you the actual answer to what was before. We don't know. We don't know. So why are you putting
then why are we having this conversation? That's a conversation stopper. Like, there's no point of even having any conversation. If we were going to just say, I don't know, well, how did God get here? I don't know. I mean, how did this happen? I don't know.
David,
it just ends the conversation.
No. It's called being honest, because we don't know.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. That's why I'm saying that we could use our reasoning to kind of deduce whether or not, from like what we know about logic and our current understanding of science, of whether or not we could deduce a universe was always there, or an uncaused cause, a creator, a supreme being was always there. And so you could say, I don't know, right? There's three options. I don't know, the universe was always here, or there was a creator always here. I mean, those are kind of like the three options we have here, right? So I don't know. I mean, it's a conversation stopper. I mean, we're not having this.
The problem is David, I don't know. That's the whole thing. We don't know what or if anything was before. We just simply do not know. I need something other than, well, we have a blank to be filled here. I cannot just say, oh, therefore it's a God, because we have a blank space where we don't know something yet. Will we maybe figure it out? I hope so. I think that would be really cool. But as of right now, there's a lot of things we do know, and there's some even more that we don't know. And I don't want to lie and say, well, there's a God, when the actual truth, not a conversation stopper, the actual truth is that we don't know.
But that's one of the three options, right? I said, I don't know, the universe was always here, or there was a creator, right? Those are the three options we could come to when we say, what are the origins of the universe? Where did this all start?
There could be a thousand creators. Yeah, there's like endless possibility.
Well, those are the three I came to. But I guess let's just go another direction, because this is kind of the parallel to the universe being here. I'll give you an analogy. This is an analogy.
David, unfortunately, I appreciate that you've been respectful in the conversation. You're welcome to call back. Now that we've reached our 35-minute mark or 32-minute mark, we have to move on to the other theists, because we've got a lot of people on hold now. But I don't think we've really reached anything yet in this conversation. If you want to call back next time, ready with the like, okay, this is how I figured out there's a God. Follow this to this to this to this. Then that would be really helpful. We can go faster and get to the whole point and the conclusion of the conversation. Does that sound all right?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I appreciate your guys' time. It's always nice hearing atheists' point of view. So appreciate it.
Thanks for calling, David. Thanks, have a great night.
Thanks.
I didn't feel like we were getting anywhere, so.
No, and I feel like right away, I mean, he was nice and respectful, but I do feel like right away he said he didn't like when people bring up God of the Gaps fallacy, but that's exactly what it was. So I didn't know how to not say that, because it was like, oh, well, we don't know, so I'm going to say it's God. That's all I think about, really.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we have Derek, who wants to explain why women need Jesus. Derek, you are live on To Come with Promise and Taylor. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're all right. Good. Did you want to tell us why women need Jesus?
Yeah. I was just answering the question I saw on the thing, and by the way, everybody needs Jesus, but everybody needs Jesus because then when you die, you won't end up in hell.
Okay, but he set it up that way, right? So I guess I'm confused by that. Why do I deserve to go to hell, first of all?
Jesus didn't set it up like that.
God
Who set
created
it
the
up?
system.
No, God didn't create hell for us, is what I'm saying.
Who did? Oh, you're saying he didn't create it for us. Why didn't he create it for us? Why do you think that is? Like, what makes you think that?
Because God created hell for Satan and his followers, or like the angels that fell from heaven.
But he obviously created it for us if he's sending us there. Like, if God is all-knowing, he didn't... I hear people say this, that God originally made hell for demons or whatever. If you're an all-knowing being, there is no original reason for using something. You know exactly what you're going to use it for. You know the future, the past. You know exactly what's going to be done with it. So he knew he was using it for humans. Like, he could have set up a different system, but he chose not to. Do you agree?
No, I don't.
Why not?
Because God created hell for Satan and his demons. It wasn't intended for anybody, for humans.
Did he not know he was going to use it for that?
It was intended. I'm sorry?
So if it was not intended for us to begin with, did he not know that in the future he was going to be sending us there? Because I've been told that God is all-knowing, so he would know that he's going to send us there.
Yeah, I don't think God created hell for the intent of sending people there. That's why he sent Jesus to die for our sins so we could escape eternal torment.
He intended some people to go there because he knew some people wouldn't, fit the criteria of going to heaven, right? So he did intend people to go there.
That is because people have a choice.
That's not a choice. So, Derek, tell me this. If Taylor winds up in hell, did God know before God created Taylor that she was going to end up in hell?
I believe that God does know everything, so I'm going to answer that question with a yes.
So then, God created Taylor specifically to go to hell. That's not a choice. Taylor had no choice in that because God knew before he created Taylor that she would make choices that would ultimately send her to hell, and he chose to make her anyways.
Right, but she's choosing. God's not choosing.
She didn't choose, because if God had created Taylor slightly differently, if he had put her maybe in a different family, if he had maybe given her a different hair color so then it changed something in her life, or if he had maybe, given her a different health outcome, maybe that would have changed things in her life. That would impact her beliefs and her experiences in life, which would impact her beliefs. But God chose to create Taylor that exact specific way that he knew ahead of time would send her to hell.
God sent down Jesus to die for our sins so that way we wouldn't go to hell. It is your choice to whether believe and accept Jesus into your heart as your Lord and Savior.
Nope, it's not a choice, Derek. Do you believe in Santa Claus?
It's a choice. No, I do not believe in Santa Claus.
Okay, if I hooked you up to a perfect lie detector test right now, and I said, you have to believe in Santa right now, or else you are going to lose your house, or lose your car, or lose something of value, would you be able to believe in Santa Claus?
No.
Right. So belief is not a choice. We don't get to choose what we believe. Taylor and I are not choosing to not believe in God.
Wait, did you ask me would I have the choice to believe in Santa? I thought you were asking me if then would I believe in Santa so I wouldn't lose those things. That's what I was saying no to.
Okay, well, let's make it more simple. Could you choose to stop believing in God right now and truly not believe that any God exists?
If I wanted to, yes, that is my choice.
Then I don't think that you're really believing right now, Derek, because you can't control your beliefs. You're either convinced of something or you're not. Okay, here, let's make this even more simple. Are you
Well, I
watching
am
the screen?
convinced.
Are you watching, Derek? Are you
No.
watching the screen right now?
No.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to believe me on this. I'm holding up a gummy bear. We'll use Taylor as the example. Taylor, what color is this gummy bear?
Am I lying or telling the truth? It's green.
Tell the truth. Sorry, tell the truth. It's green, right? Okay, Taylor, if we hooked you up to a lie detector test, that was perfect, and I said, I'll give you $1 million if you can believe that this gummy bear is red, would you be able to do it?
No. I could try, but it wouldn't work.
Right. We can act like we believe things. We can act like something is true or not, but ultimately, whether we believe it or not is a matter of being convinced.
Or you can believe with just using faith.
What does that even mean?
Well, I'm going to use the words of Jesus, and Jesus says, "Blessed are those who have not seen, but yet still believe."
Why would God create our brains in a way that a lot of people prefer proof to be convinced, or like need proof to be convinced of something? Why would God create our brains like that and then tell us to do the opposite? Is that like some kind of sick game or what?
No, it's free will. You have the choice to believe or not to believe.
That doesn't answer my question, because he created our brains pretty much the exact opposite. He doesn't need to do that for us to have free will. He didn't need to give us that obstacle for us to have free will.
Well, if God didn't give us... Oh, I was just going to say, if God didn't give us free will, then he would be a dictator.
Do you not believe that Jesus proved himself to people in a certain time period? Did he take away all their free will? Like all those people free will?
Like, what about Paul on the road, or Saul on the road to Damascus? And then he had the encounter that caused him to believe. Was that having his free will taken away?
The only thing I can think of why Jesus showed himself to him was because God was using him for a purpose, for a bigger purpose.
Why doesn't he want to use all of us for a bigger purpose? Why did only Paul get special privileges? Does he just love some of them more than others?
No, he loves us. I believe that God loves us all the same. He loves you. I mean, even if you don't believe in him, he still loves you just like he loves me. He don't love me more because I'm a Christian, you know.
Then why not offer up evidence? If I'm sitting here and I'm like, look, I'll believe in a God if a God shows up and convinces me, then why wouldn't that God offer that up if that God loves me?
Well, faith.
That's not an answer to the question, Derek. Why wouldn't a God offer me that evidence that I would need in order to be convinced if he loves me? Because the alternative is I'm going to hell.
Have you prayed for the evidence?
Yep.
Have you had faith that Jesus would answer you in his own time or just your time?
Yep.
I'm just curious, like, if you're on your deathbed and 5 minutes before you die, and then Jesus shows up and says, "Hey, I'm real," wouldn't it be worth it by you just using your faith and believing in Jesus?
No, because the amount of pain and suffering I would have gone through in life for no reason, and then the amount of people I would have led away from the faith via the large platform that I have, that seems to go directly against anything that a loving God would do. I hear from people regularly that no longer believe in Jesus because of me. Wouldn't it make more sense that Jesus would not do that to begin with, that Jesus would offer up some sort of evidence to everybody?
Well, I asked, like, if Jesus had revealed himself to you, like, within 10 minutes, and then you tell everybody, like, hey, God revealed himself to me, God is real. You know, but then people wouldn't believe you, just like kind of what you're doing right now. Like, people already experience God, and they're telling you their experiences, yet you don't believe them. So for everybody in the whole single world to believe in God at the same exact time, God would have to view everything to everybody, and then there would be no more need for faith at all. And faith is very important.
So important? Why is faith so important?
Faith. Why is faith so important?
Yeah, like,
Should I have
why is it so
faith?
important to God that we
I'm
don't
sorry,
have proof?
I'm
and we
just
believe
thinking.
in
I'm
it?
sorry. I've never been asked.
No, it's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Why is faith so important? Because faith gives you hope.
So then should I have faith that I'm going to win the lottery tonight? Because that gives me hope.
I mean, faith is evidence, is believing in, well, yeah, I mean, it would give you hope. Yeah, if you believe that you was going to win the lottery, that gives you hope that you're going to win the lottery.
So should I have faith that I'm going to win the lottery, and should I go ahead and max out my credit cards right now on a shopping spree because I'm going to win the lottery anyways?
Well, that's your free will. I mean, that's what you want to do.
No, I'm asking you, Derek, is there value in me having faith that I'm going to win the lottery?
Yes and no. Like, as a human standpoint, like, having faith that you'll win the lottery and makes you a little bit happy, because, hey, I might become a millionaire tomorrow, after I win. But no, as in a sense, because we all know in the human world, like, it's slim to none to win a lottery, right? It's like finding a needle in a haystack.
So then why are you saying that we should just have faith that an entire God exists without any good reason to believe that?
Because Jesus says, blessed are those that have not seen yet still believe.
Why should I care what Jesus says?
Because Jesus died for your sins.
Why should I believe that that's true?
So you can have everlasting life in heaven with God.
Why should I believe that heaven is real?
Because heaven, why would you believe that heaven is real? So you can have eternal lasting life and you won't be tormented in hell for eternity, because this life is only temporary.
But I don't believe that, Derek. I don't think that there is a heaven or a hell. Why should I believe you?
And that's why God loves you, because God is giving you that free will to make your own choice.
No, but Derek, I'm not making a choice. I can't help it. I don't believe it. Sorry, Taylor, you go ahead. Let's hear what Taylor has to ask.
I was going to ask Derek, if you think that God proving himself takes away people's free will, does that mean everybody in heaven doesn't have free will? Does that mean Satan didn't have free will? Does that mean everybody that God proved himself to when he was Jesus didn't have free will? And if free will is so important, then wouldn't we have it in heaven?
Okay, I'm sorry. I got confused with both of those two. Can I answer one question at a time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was the first question?
I asked if people in heaven, since, when you get to heaven, you will know for a fact God is real. Do they lose their free will when they're in heaven since they know he's real?
Do they lose their free will in heaven?
Yeah, because you said if God proves himself, we would lose our free will.
I don't think so.
Okay, so you do believe that God could prove himself to us and we would still have free will, right?
Well, you said in heaven, not on earth.
Yep.
On earth, it's different. It would take away our free will and our faith.
Why? Can you name another situation where learning information takes away your free will?
Can I describe a situation where learning takes away my free will?
Yeah, when you learn something, can you name another situation where when you learn a certain thing, it's taking away your free will?
When I learn a certain thing, it's taking away my free will. At the top of my head, I can't think of anything that what I learned will take away my free will. Because, people learn stuff all the time, and that doesn't take away their free will. So I guess I'm kind of confused by the question.
So the thing I'm trying to say is, learning stuff does not take away free will. And we know this because we never apply this in any other situation. And for some reason, Christians say this is the one exception. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I mean, I don't know what part don't make sense.
The part where I say learning information does not take away free will. In any other situation, you would not say that you learning something, you reading a book about something, you doing a science experiment, it would not take away your free will. So why is it that in all those situations we can learn whatever we want and it doesn't take away our free will, but you're saying when God proves himself to us, all of a sudden we don't have free will? Why is that?
I see what you're saying now, and that's because of faith. And Jesus says, those who have not seen yet believe have faith.
So, Derek,
are blessed. So you're blessed when you have faith that Jesus is real. You have faith.
But Derek,
then you are blessed by the name of Jesus because you believe in him.
Derek, here's the problem.
Yes.
You keep referring back to Jesus said and the Bible says. Taylor and I don't believe in Jesus. We don't think that Jesus is a God or exists right now. And we don't believe that the Bible is true. So we're trying to figure out why you believe that a God exists. We don't even have to get to heaven or Jesus or any of that. What makes you convinced that there is a God?
Well, for me, it's like different pieces of a puzzle. So there's many different reasons why I believe in God. And when I put all those pieces together, it tells me that Jesus is real. That's for me personally, because I just look at I have many different reasons why I believe in Christ, right? And then when I put those pieces together, it forms the puzzle, it makes the picture.
Right, but we're not even talking about Jesus right now. We're just talking about if there's even a God. So can you give me what do you think is the strongest argument for the existence of a God?
I mean, there's so many of them. I mean,
can you give me one? Just one.
Yeah, I believe that evolution is a lie.
Okay, I could believe that evolution is a lie as well, and I think this is all a simulation and there's no gods. So evolution has nothing to do with if there's a God or not, because I could believe that there is a God and that God created the universe using evolution, created the universe as we know it, what's in the universe. So that has nothing to do with anything.
Well, you asked me why I believe, one of the reasons why I believe there's a God, and that is one of the reasons why, because I know evolution is a lie and that we were created by God, by him.
How do you know that we were created by a God?
Because it's the most rational and logical reason I can think of that why we are all here and how the world was formed and everything. It's the only thing that makes sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense to me. So how do we determine whether you're right or I'm right?
Well, then we would have to dig into it by asking questions. I guess my first question would be, where did language come from?
It came from us developing language over time. I'm going to be totally honest with you, Derek, before we move on to our next call.
Okay.
I think there are some basic things that you have thought about, and I appreciate that, things like language or things like evolution. I don't think you know what you're talking about. I don't think you've learned enough. I don't think that you've read enough to form conclusions. And that's exciting news, because that means there's more for you to learn, and there's possibilities that you haven't thought of, and there's things that maybe you haven't understood clearly enough. I think it would really benefit you. I don't know if you enjoy reading more or audiobooks more. There's a couple of basic books I would start you off on. I think Sapiens might really interest you. There's a book called Sapiens. It's very, very popular. And I'm not saying that you're gonna read it and think everything is so amazing and perfectly true, but it might spark some things for you to go learn more about and see, wait, is this actually what's true? So I would start with that one, and I would start with, I hate recommending Richard Dawkins, but Taylor, do you remember the book, the all the
God
rainbows.
delusion?
The greatest
Oh.
show on earth. The other
Oh.
one I would try, Derek, is the greatest show on earth, because the things you're saying to me are a red flag that you don't have all the information that is easily available to you if you want it. And I think we would be doing you a disservice if we didn't recommend that you go learn some of those things, because I appreciate that you're thinking about all of this stuff. I appreciate that you are wanting to stick with this thing that you're convinced of. But what if you're wrong? I'm going to throw that at you. So check out Sapiens and The Greatest Show on Earth. Start with those for me. Does that sound all right, Derek?
Yeah, thank you guys for your time. I will pray for you guys, and that's about it. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Derek. Have a good one.
Bye.
You guys too.
It just makes me sad, because you can hear the loop where they're just stuck. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and young Earth creationism, it gets me the most, because I'm like, it's unfortunate that there's this narrative that if you believe in God, you can't believe in evolution, because then it has people, further detached from reality. And one of the things that changed my mind, obviously, because I used to be a young Earth creationist, was actually watching that famous debate between Bill Nye the Science Guy and what's his name, Ken Ham.
Oh yeah,
because Bill Nye had some really good points, and the whole time Ken Ham was like, "This guy said this, and this smart guy believes it," and I'm like, So that was a good opener, I guess. But yeah, it makes me sad. I hate it.
Yeah. Yep. Because ultimately they're appealing to things like, well, Jesus said this, and it's just pure indoctrination. And then it's rooted in, well, basically you don't understand what evolution is or the claims that it's making, because it's not claiming to offer an answer for, the origins of the universe.
Right.
But
Right.
I don't know. He was very, very polite, very kind. And I
Yeah,
truly hope, Derek, if you're listening, please will you check out those audiobooks or books, whichever. I just like audiobooks better usually, but I think that would be great. In fact, I even have some audiobook credits, and Derek, if you email me and you say that you'll listen to them, I will send them to you. So just throwing that out there. We've got 2 theist callers left. We'll try to get through them quickly before we get to our super chats. Super chats of $5 or more, Taylor and I will both be reading. You can put different questions you have in there, or your mom jokes, of course. I don't know. Taylor, do you have any favorite things that you like to hear in super chats?
No, I just hate pronouncing names, but that's something I have to do anyways.
Great. Now people are going to super chat in really difficult names to read. So,
I'm sure.
At least you haven't got. Poor Alyssa gets the super chats where it's a British accent, and she has to read the whole thing with a British accent. It's amazing. She's honestly she's getting better at it. Be careful when you say that; they'll send them in for you. All right, let's chat with Chris, who wants to know what issues we have with doctrine and practices in Christianity. Hey, Chris, how are you? You
Hello?
are live on Chewed Gum.
Hello?
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Oh, you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, perfect. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure. This is my first time here.
Thanks for calling. So what did you want to talk to us about?
Well, exactly, actually, let me search here. Exactly what it says in my topic. What beliefs and practice of Christianity do you think don't make sense or are problematic? I actually made a list. My list here is view on sin, existence of multiple denominations, the atonement, also known as the death of Christ, heaven and hell, the Trinity and the incarnation, the Christian opposition to abortion, and the means to get saved. Is any of those something that you find problematic or don't make sense?
I'm going to be totally honest. I had a hard time. You're like clipping in and out a tiny bit. Were you just giving us your list of issues you have with different doctrines and practices? Because here's ultimately here's my problem. Yep, we can hear you. But here's the problem. Christianity does not have consistent doctrines or practices. Over time, these doctrines and practices have changed, and across denominations, they're vastly different. And within even different churches and different families, culture plays out differently. So I can say I have problems with things like purity culture or things like basically unpaid labor that happens throughout churches. I can say that I have a problem with the doctrine of sin and saying that somebody who's just born damned for hell. But I can summarize it so much easier than that. The problems I have with Christianity is that I don't think it's true.
Okay, yeah, I understand that will be the main problem, naturally. I just wanted time. You and Taylor make several videos regarding Christianity and things that you find problematic within it. I thought that it would be good to have a discussion, even though I am not an expert in proving Christianity or the existence of God, so I can make some arguments in favor of the existence of God. The thing I can do the most is help to defend the internal consistency of Christianity, or at least of my denomination of Christianity. So I just wanted to talk about those issues that
Chris,
you have with.
Chris, here's the problem. I don't mean this in a rude way. I'm sorry if it sounds like that, but I don't really care what your denomination believes and if you think that you have the best doctrine. I imagine anybody practicing Christianity thinks that their version is the best and the most consistent, which is why they've chosen it. I just care if it's true or not. I just care if there's actually a God and if there's actually a good reason to believe those things. Because even if a doctrine was horrible and I hated it, if it was true, I would still find that it has value because I want to know things that are true. I don't really care if it doesn't make sense to me, if it can be proven to be true.
No, I understand that. The point of my discussion was simply is if you could tell me what issues you both have with Christianity, and maybe I can offer a new perspective. That's all. Doesn't matter if that will convince you of Christianity is true. That's not necessarily my goal, but maybe just offer a new perspective regarding how you view Christianity and all of that. Because, and this was my main reason to come here to talk about this. When I see you both videos regarding Christianity, sometimes I feel like it's how do I tell you? It's a bit of a too much of a generalization. So I thought it would be valuable if we just had a discussion regarding these issues. Is that okay?
I'll be honest, we'll probably just move on to the next call if that's all you're interested in doing, unless Taylor finds interest in that. I really only care if something's true or not, because to me, it's the same as then somebody calling in about, why their understanding of Star Wars is better than anybody else's. And I understand that that's fun if you're a fan of Star Wars. If you want to convince other Christians to follow, like why your doctrine makes more sense, then by all means. But you'd have to get me up the first step into the front door before we could even go there. And like I said, I have no reason to believe that any of this is true. So I was a Christian for 20 plus years. Taylor, how long were you a Christian?
I am,
like 20 some.
Right. We both were Christians. We both have known so many Christians, and we both heard lots of perspectives about Christianity. And I don't really care about perspectives. I care about what is true. So if you want to tell us, what God you believe in and why you think that God exists, we can have that conversation. But if the conversation is really just about doctrine and practices in Christianity, it sounds like you'd be better suited to call, a Christian call-in show on that.
Okay. So you want to see if Christianity is true?
I want to know if there's a God or not first.
Okay, of course. If there is a God, then from whether there is a God, whether Christianity in particular is true, and from whether Christianity in particular is true, what denomination is the correct one?
Can you repeat that last part?
That's correct. What denomination is the correct one? As a go-to, does God
No,
exist?
Chris, you're missing again. I don't even, Chris, I don't even want to bring up the word denomination because that should be completely irrelevant to if there is a God or not.
No, I understand. That's why I say this. What you want is to know whether there is a God, whether and if we come to that, then we follow with the next.
I'm still not clear. How did
you want to know whether there is a God? How did I figure out whether there is a God?
I would like to know why you believe that a God exists.
Well, I think that some of the best arguments will be stuff like Thomas Aquinas' 5 ways on motion, contingency, the existence of composite beings. So I don't think that the existence of composite beings. Also, some others. Those are some of the best, but I think that my favorite will be something like the argument from contingency of Leibniz, which is basically that the existence of contingent beings proves that there must be a necessary being from which all of them derive their existence. So, and the same necessary being will have all the attributes of divinity that be ascribed to God. Therefore, God exists. I agree that I am not
so that's just special pleading, because we could say the same exact thing about the universe.
Can you explain that?
We could just say that the universe itself is necessary, and therefore it exists.
What I would argue is that a necessary being will need to be, how would I say? A necessary being will not be that dynamic in the sense the universe is.
So here's the main problem we're having right now, Chris, is the audio is so bad, it's really hard to understand you. So I caught the one thing that you said, which is the argument against contingency, but I'm not able to hear everything else you're saying, and I don't want to misrepresent you in the argument when I can't hear you correctly. So I think it might be better.
I'm sorry. Can you listen to me better now?
I can hear. Yeah, let's try.
So, do you listen to me better now?
We can hear you a bit better.
Okay. Wait a second.
See, it's doing it again. Yeah, it's clipping. Yeah,
do Chris, you listen to me?
So Chris, I think we're gonna just ask you to try back another time, because there's something about this connection that's not working. It's just not clear, and so we're having a hard time understanding you. And like I said, I want you to have a fair shot in the conversation. So if you want to call us back sometime, because it's just like crackling a lot and it's really hard to hear. But thank you, Chris, for calling. I'm sorry that we couldn't get through the full call.
Well, I will try to call in another time.
Thanks, Chris. Have a good evening.
Bye.
I was able to catch like every other thing, but
I was having a good time.
I saw chat wasn't even able to understand either, so I figured if the audio issue is that bad, then we'll move on. That was our last caller. I know some of those calls went longer, and so we had to ask some of you to call back next week, but we'll get to your calls next week. And now we'll get to our super chats. I still feel like there's a lot of other theists that didn't call in, that I hope you guys were listening, and I hope that you were frustrated with the arguments you were hearing. I would be if I was a theist. So call back sometime. Maybe you and I could do a Cus I Wanna together sometime, just for theists too. And really ramp up the callers for that.
Yeah, and I always have so many people in my lives being like, why don't you debate on here? Why don't you debate live? It's like, and I have told them the times I come on here, so I'm like, call in. And I have not I don't think I've had that happen. So guess they don't want to talk that bad.
It happens. Maybe they'll get more brave next time. $5 from Aaliyah Shauna Silverbow. A dung beetle walks in a bar and asks, "Is this stool taken?" Hashtag bug joke. Hashtag also technically a poop joke. Calm down, JamNick06. I feel like if there are going to be poop jokes, that one is still kind of like cute in a way because there's a beetle involved. So yeah, I'll allow it. Thanks, Aaliyah Shauna.
$5 from Jamnik. Well, I make a poop joke, but I don't want to bug promise. Hashtag bug joke.
Thank you. I appreciate the respect there. $5 from Jamnik06. What did the firefly say to the other firefly? "You glow, girl." Hashtag bug joke. Hashtag team guinea pig. I love it.
Yay,
thanks, Jamnik.
Team guinea pig. $5 from, is it David Haight?
Yeah, David Haxer.
Oh, Haxer. Hashtag Team Ben 4C. I don't know if
this is something that must be related to one of our hosts on the line, Dr. Ben, that we don't know about, but we'll pass on the word. $5 from Bobby Kinniston. When I met Meryl Streep, I threw up on her. She was mad and kicked me in the balls. I peed myself and ran away crying. Embarrassing, so it must be true. I see what you did there. That is hilarious.
I believe you, Bobby.
That is embarrassing. So, wow, congrats on meeting Meryl Streep.
$5 from Quantum Chaos. If this God dude already decided whether or not I'll go to hell, why should I bother seeking his forgiveness? Predestination was always doomed to fail. I agree.
Yes. $5 from Jamnik06. What do you call a musical insect? A humbug. Hashtag musical bug joke for promise. I love it. Thank you.
$5 from Jamnik06. What do you call a rabbit with fleas? Bugs Bunny. Hashtag bug joke for Taylor. Hashtag Team Bunnies. I love it. I love them. I love that you gave the recognition to the bunnies as well.
Yes, that was really good. $5 from Aaliyah Shauna Silverbow. Why did the fly never land on the computer? Because it was afraid of the World Wide Web. That's really good. Guys, we might be having some appearances from Tinkerbell this summer when I'm back in Finland, and I'm assuming that fly, we're going to say that it's the same fly, is there waiting for me. She's missed us, I'm sure.
$5 from JamNick06. What do you call a fly without wings? A walk? Hashtag morbid bug joke.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. Really sad.
I get it. I was like, what? I get it.
$5 from Jamnik06. What is both on the ground and also 100 feet in the air? A centipede on its back. Hashtag cute joke. Hashtag not poop joke. I'm loving these cute jokes. The bug jokes, those are great.
So many.
I'm really impressed with the amount. Yeah, thanks, guys.
$5 from Shauna Silverbow. Have you ever heard of the Comedy Flea Trio? They're called the Flea Stooges. Hashtag itching for a laugh. That is a good one.
That's amazing. Are you guys coming up with this on your own, or are you like?
I know, that's what I want to ask. Or did you type in bug jokes?
Right. Obviously, the hashtags, I assume you guys must be coming up with those, which is extremely creative. I'm just going to, in my mind, you're making these up completely from scratch, so. $10 from Maud. Rationality is just an outgrowth of pattern recognition, a product of apes that recognize that when a lion disappears behind a bush, it continues to exist, having children for a few million years. That's a really great way to phrase that.
$5 from Moron. It doesn't look like 12 inches, but it smells like a foot. Does that count?
Oh, God.
What is this in a relation to?
Just welcome to Super Chats on the line. They are related to nothing usually. That's the most exciting part about it. $5 from Aaliyah Shauna Silverbow. If David doesn't want to take responsibility for speaking on behalf of their God, then perhaps they should have their God call in instead. Is that the call where he believes in hell but had zero evidence to offer us? So
Yeah,
he
I
thinks
think
we're
so.
going there, and
Yeah, I feel like they were two of them. The first two ones were so similar that they're mushed together in my head. I'll be honest.
$4.99 from.
$4.99.
Oh, sorry,
Oh.
your turn.
$4.99 from JWJC for Promise and Taylor. Since we won't win the lotto, but at least we aren't stuck in our religious past. Cheers. Yeah, true. Cheers.
Yes, cheers. Here. Do you guys like my new merch? You can't. Well, can
You
you
have the
see?
best
Like, it's
mugs.
actually hot pink. It's in my merch store. I made it, but it says "Hell isn't
Oh,
real."
that's so cool.
And I'll grab it in a second. I have two other, I have these cute tank tops that have the same thing on it. Anyways, had to share.
I love that.
$5 from Mystic Minds Analysis Tavern. The problem with God as an explanation is that it doesn't explain jack squat. It's meaningless without a clear definition we can observe. Yes, it's really just the same to me as having a blank space, which is why not just be honest when we have blank spaces? It's very, very frustrating. Also, I still have this green gummy bear sitting here, and I want to eat it so badly, but I'm not going to eat on air, so.
$4.99 from Optimus Rhymes 69. Women need. Well, I don't know why I said Rhymus. Okay, women need insecure dudes to stop telling them what they need. Sincerely, a guy that's tired of dealing with cowards. You're not wrong.
I'm not even paying attention. Women need insecure dudes to stop telling them what they need. Sincerely, depending on the I probably agree whatever context that's in. Yeah, sure. We should all just communicate well and then figure out our own needs. $5 from Coffee Mom. I believe in heaven and hell because otherwise I would actually have to do something in real life to stop all the evil people from doing evil things. David from California. Yeah. I'm right. This sounds like so, I don't know what the word is for it, but I'm writing on that in my book right now. It just kind of removes the motivation to figure out what we can do here and now. If there's no guarantee of justice in an afterlife, that makes the stakes much higher here, as they should be, because this is the only thing that we have to be sure of. So, but otherwise, just this I can sleep better tonight because I think that someday these horrible people are going to get theirs. That doesn't help anybody here and now.
$5 from June Uric. Oh, that's my pit of torment. Who goes in there? In there? No one. Ha ha ha. Why did you install it then? No reason. Yeah,
that's perfect.
I get so frustrated when people tell me that hell was originally created for something that wasn't humans, because I'm like, there is no originally created if he knows everything. It just doesn't make sense.
Yep, exactly. Especially the whole there's no time, God isn't bound by time like we are. Then why does everything hinge on the existence of this timeline of, well, God did it then because he didn't know that, what?
Yeah, exactly.
$19.99 from Cody Cooper. Derek is the worst kind of caller. He basically is just calling to threaten us all with hell. That is some kind of new idea. And Derek says we're all loved equally, but yet hates trans people. He gave no pronouns. Yeah, the giving no pronouns, we can probably point to that. But for sure, I can agree with you on the, just called into issue a threat. It probably most of these callers, the takeaway I got is they have been indoctrinated in some form or another. And probably it's a lack of information that is currently failing them. And had they more information, I think they would change their minds. But it's about major things that should be covered in school,
Mm-hmm. $5 from Dade Murphy. Bro's argument came from the back of a box of Lucky Charms. # magically incredulous.
That's good. 10 pounds from Herbie Shine. Thanks, Herbie. And it's so easy to read when there's nothing there.
$5 from how did I even say that last time?
Dade.
Dade Murphy. Mm-hmm. Bro eating a Lunchable trying to debate theology. I'm dead.
That was fascinating. Sorry, I'm just over here sneezing. $4.99 from EKUL85. Faith is the excuse people give in the absence of evidence. MD.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you just hear all
$4.99
those buzzwords and
Sorry,
it's
go
just
ahead.
like hearing all the buzzwords, it's just like you can't even explain to me what you mean. Like if I were to say really like, okay, define faith, what does this mean? You need Jesus. Explain, how is Jesus atoning for my blood? In what ways? Is it going into like a little collection box and like you weigh me and you weigh that and then, there's no actual knowledge there.
Yeah, and I've yet to hear a good explanation of why faith is so important, why believing without seeing is just so important. It doesn't make any sense. $4.99 from Pure Taco. Man, if y'all had a super chat for every time this dude said, because faith, y'all would be living lavishly, my friends. True.
Yeah, why didn't you guys jump on that train? That would be a dangerous drinking game to like go back and watch that call for that purpose. $10 from SJL. SH had one question that broke. Oh, I was like, SH, Skeptical Heretic, had one question that broke Derek out of his groove, but it didn't take long to get back in. He didn't really strike me as a reader. Forest Light of Evolution might be better. Yeah, going to watch some of that too. I'm worried that he probably just won't consume any form of content that isn't supporting his beliefs already. I know that at one point I was in a phase where I wouldn't have read anything. Were you ever like that, Taylor, where you felt like I'm not even going to read a book talking about, I don't know if you were a young earth creationist, but like talking about something you would have found heretical? Because I felt like I shouldn't read those things.
Yeah, and I also I don't know. I had no motivation to look at anything else for some reason. I was like perfectly happy just living in my low Delulu world. So
yeah. And especially like the consequences of like, what if you were to change your mind? It was like not worth playing with that,
Exactly.
I told you guys I was going to start doing this over and over again. My hair is already bothering me, so.
I think you should have it curly more often. It honestly looks so, so good.
Oh,
I'm serious.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, probably will happen over the summer, so.
$5 from Ali Shauna Silverbell. Your mom's so old and fat that when God said, let there be light, he had to ask her to move out of the way. # no body shaming. # your mom jokes for promise.
Thank you. That's amazing. Your mom jokes. With my Your Mom bracelet that I love so much. Also, I want to know how Tide knew like the exact size to make this. Like, it's the perfect.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like literally exact right spacing and everything. And I can't even buy bracelets because they never fit me. Yeah.
Same. My wrists are so small that I don't even bother unless they're adjustable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is this one me?
Yeah, I think so.
$5 from DaCosta. Read Derek. People ask if they can pray for me and are taken aback when I happily say no. And they want to hold my hand. Yeah, some people, I think when they throw out the like, I'll be praying for you or whatever, it's worth addressing sometimes. I think it's kind of one of those subjective things when you have to pick and choose how to respond. I genuinely think that Derek meant that in the best way that he possibly could. It sounded very genuine to me. And that didn't feel like the bone to pick in that conversation. People can think about me in their heads all they want. Like go for it if you want to waste your own time. I agree with addressing that idea in general. Like, and if somebody asks to pray for me, my response is usually, you can if it helps you. But me knowing that is not helping anything. And there's actually other ways that you could show care to me if you wanted. What is your response? Like, do you have a response to that?
Yeah, people ask me all the time how I feel about like people who say they'll pray for me. And I always say I can usually tell if it's like a well-intentioned thing or if it's an F you like type deal. And if someone's like, for instance, if someone's arguing with me in the comment section, which I argue with people all the time,
me too.
They'll say it like at the end of an argument. I know they're not being sincere, but if a family member says it to me, it honestly makes me feel good because I'm like, they're doing what they think is going to help me. And that's that. I don't really think past it. Unless they're saying it in a condescending way, which normally does not happen, so.
Yep, I fully agree.
$50 from Mr.
Boricua
Pronounce
10.
it Boricua.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Boricua. Roll the R a teensy bit. I'm not gonna that. Please don't make me attempt that. British Oi Taylor, y'all fancy a challenge? Wanna tell I can't do this. Was a Maha wife all of those cheeky little so-and-sos going off 6 and 7s, making me bang, me bleeding. Oh my god. On my bloody desk. I can't even do the last one. I'll be so real. I can't.
Do better. I still don't even know what we're saying. That was mean.
Cruel.
That was a mean one. But also, thanks so much for the support.
Yeah,
I appreciate that you. I feel like you paid a fair price for us to completely butcher your.
Yeah, that's true.
Super chat. Alyssa's just so grateful that she didn't have to read it. $5 from President Starscream. Just for fun, what are your favorite dinosaurs? Avian or non-avian? Oh my gosh. I used to know this. Do you know your favorite dinosaur? I didn't believe dinosaurs were real for like the first half of my life, so there's problem number one.
I actually thought they were real, but they lived at the same time as human beings, and that's super embarrassing. And I didn't. This is so embarrassing, but like 3 years ago is when I found out that wasn't true. So that's very embarrassing. But
it happens. I thought an entire god existed, so you know, we all believe some silly things.
My favorite dinosaur is pretty basic, but I like Triceratops because I like their horns, and I also like short and stout things because they remind me of myself. So I like them.
I love it. I remembered mine. It's the Allosaurus, because they're like a T-Rex, but in smaller form, and they're faster, which to me is way scarier.
Yeah, that is scary. $5 for Monkey at Typewriter. Good show, y'all. I was made redundant this morning, so this will likely be the last super chat for a while. And if God wants a soul, mine is cheap AF.
I'm so sorry. In another lifetime, I would have told you I was praying for you to find a new job, but I'm so sorry to hear that. We'll still be here, whether you're in the super chats or not. We'll be here to hang out. But really hoping that you have good luck finding something better next, because that's not fun. And thank you for the support, despite that. $5 from Stephen Hewitt. Skeptical Heretic is literally Pam from The Office, but an absolute savage. Do you ever get that? I can see it a little bit. To me, you look like, I'm sure you get this all the time, so I feel bad saying it. Is it Emma Stone I'm thinking of?
The redhead? Emma Watson.
No, maybe a little bit her too. Emma Stone from La La Land.
Oh, no, I've never gotten that one. The top ones I get are... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say like her and Lindsay Lohan, like some kind of combo there.
I get that a lot, and I get the girl from Maze Runner, and then once in a great while I get Emma Watson, which I look nothing like her, but that's my favorite one because I love her so much, and she's so beautiful.
No, I see it. There's like something... maybe it's in your smile or eyes or something, but I totally see it.
It is.
$5 right now...
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, the delay is so bad. Right now, a picture I posted is trending on Reddit. It's a picture of my husband and I in like hairnets because we were volunteering with American Atheists on Sunday for for packing meals. And I took just a quick funny selfie of us because I wanted to have it because we were like have our hairnets on. And I was not planning on posting it at all. In fact, I really didn't want to post it. It's not like the most flattering picture. But then somebody on Threads said something about like, so how do atheists feel about Easter? Are you something like stomping and kicking and screaming and like, do you hate it and it's a terrible day? Or are you celebrating in vain? It was like this thing that was really dumb. And so I responded and I was like, it feels like another beautiful day to me. My husband and I just spent it volunteering with American Atheists, helping pack 25,000 meals for the local food bank. And it was going viral on Reddit because it's like murdered by words, because it was like, it made him look like such an ass. It's like, no, not only do I not give a shit that it's Easter, I actually spend it doing something other than like dressing up and going to church, you know?
like you're actually doing real like community
Right.
service or volunteer work. That's so funny.
Well, what's
I
really
love
funny
that.
is all the comments under it are like, is that Anne Hathaway and Prince Harry? Just like one after the other after the other. For whatever
No,
reason, that
okay.
picture apparently looks like that.
I was thinking to myself, like, what celebrity do you look like? And it's definitely Anne Hathaway, which she's gorgeous. So hopefully that's a compliment.
Thank you. Yes, I love her, and I do. I think at one point I filtered it out of my TikTok live words because it was such a popular comment.
That's actually so funny.
Isn't that
I love that.
No. Okay, sorry, I interrupted your joke. You get to read here.
$5 from Gorilla God King. You asked for yo mama jokes. Your mama's so fat she got to roll to work. Hashtag roly poly. Hashtag your mama bug joke.
Amazing.
Wow,
I love it.
And a bug joke.
All in one. $10 from Green Man Dave. What do you call tiny spiders on the moon? Lunatics. That's really cute. I like that one. That's like a moon joke or a planet joke and a bug joke.
Nook $50 from
What kind of currency is that? NOK. Should I know this? Margan,
I knew I should have said NOK and not try to pronounce that. I don't know what that is though. I've literally never heard of it, I don't think.
Well, thank you for
Norwegian kroner.
Oh, cool.
Oh. Wow. Wow. The last name.
First name starts with the letter S.
That's, I don't know. Schroeder up. I don't know. It's wrong. I know it is. You asked for it now.
So it's just Espen. And then.
Oh, okay. So you put it at the bottom.
Sheldrup.
Letter S and pen. Last name with. Start with shell. What?
Sheldrup. Maybe. We're getting it. I don't know.
Okay. That's probably still wrong, but that's okay. We tried.
I got to meet, I'm going to look it up to make sure I'm completely right about this. Well, who knows? I'll take too long to look it up, but I believe that his official title is the president of the Norwegian Humanist Association. So that was really cool. I'm wanting to get more involved over on that side of the world as well with what humanists
really cool.
And isn't that neat? $5 from Bobby Kinniston. On my run this morning, I passed a house with some chickens on the front lawn. One of them crossed the road. I stopped and cried, "Why?" No answer. Probably to get to the other side.
Probably.
Thanks, Bobby.
$5 from Space Barbarian. Hearing one of the callers mansplain apologetics is a special kind of hell. True.
It was rough. It was very rough. $5 from SJL. How can you tell if a Finn is extroverted? He looks at your shoes when he talks to you. I have no idea if this is remotely accurate. Yeah, it's funny. My experience with Finnish people is, I think they have the reputation of not being extroverted, but most of the ones I met are extroverted after a beer. They just need a beer, and then suddenly
I relate to that so heavily. So I would be well over there.
I think just Finnish people are better at knowing when to shut up, like when we don't have to fill silences, and they're not like going out of their way to engage in social interactions that aren't necessary. However, when you're like actually hanging out as friends, like when you actually know them. For example, my husband's friend was just visiting from Finland, super nice. And although I will say my experience is mostly with Finnish musicians, so I'm realizing as I'm saying this, it might be a little skewed towards some of the more extroverted ones. But, he went out with us all day, and in the evening was like meeting my friends and super like talkative and everything. It just takes a beer, But that joke
liquid courage
is really good. Yes.
$4.99 from Juju Penguins. First promise is curly hair. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Bug jokes
you.
remind me, best part of being an atheist, bugs with too many legs were not created by someone that loves me. So true.
That's great. Love you, Juju. Thank you. $5 from Jamnik06. Yo mama so fat she uses Google Earth to take a selfie. Yo mama so old she was a waitress at the Last Supper. Hashtag yo mama jokes for promise. Those are really good.
I like that last one.
The Google Earth to take a selfie. That's a solid.
$5 from Melatonin. Promise.
LA. I got this wrong before. It's LA, which is beautiful.
LA. Yeah, that is. Promise, I'm so jealous of your hair. It takes so much time and product for me to get even a mild wave to hold my hair. That's what I'm saying. Like, my hair's so flat. So when I see hair like yours, I'm like, you better appreciate it. Because
the grass is always greener, you guys.
Yeah.
No, it takes me 2 hours basically. Like if I want to do my hair look at this. This is insane. Like how I want to usually do it. Now I can make the curls look a little nicer if I like spend a tiny bit of time on them when I get out of the shower. But this is literally just like I did nothing, and I would kill to do nothing and have the opposite happen. Have it just like fall flat and do all the nothing.
You don't want
basically. It's funny. We always want what we don't have. $5 from Max V. Monkey at typewriter. I'll gladly sponsor your super chats, you awesome monkey. Oh, I love that. Yes. Looking out for each other. $5 from Jamnik. Oh, sorry. Why am I just... it's okay. After 8. My brain's not working.
$5 from Jamnik06. What do you call a dino that just came from the I don't even know what that is. Proctologist. A Megasaurus.
Yeah, it's what's the official term? I don't want to say butt doctor, but a proctologist is the branch of medicine concerned with the anus and rectum. So
okay, never heard of it.
Now you have some really useful information. Yeah, thanks, Jamnik. $4.99 from Homespun Covers. Speaking of mom jokes, your mom was so big she was standing on the corner by herself when a cop walked up and said, "All right, break it up." Our Dangerfield. That's great. All right, break it up. Thank you guys so much, and special thanks to Skeptical Heretic. Please make sure you guys go follow. Where can they find you on all the things? I don't know. I don't remember if we even told them that last week.
I'm most active on TikTok, but I am trying to build my YouTube right now by putting out like a couple videos a week. So please subscribe there because, we never know what's going to happen with TikTok. Thank you.
Are they still talking about taking that away?
I don't know. I feel like Donald Trump has probably pissed off China to the point where they don't care if it stays here or not. So I'm expecting it to go away, but who knows?
I am also trying to convince you to post all of your TikToks over onto Instagram because they're so good and I want them over there and I think it would be worth it. So
I'll think about it. Instagram scares me, but I'll think about it.
You can just post the video and then like log off. It's okay.
And then run away.
But thank you guys again for all the support. Again, thank you to Taylor. Please make sure you go and support Taylor because again, she's just doing this out of the kindness of her heart, guesting on here. So follow her accounts and all the places. But hopefully she'll be back. And I want her to meet Alyssa too. I think that you guys would have a lot of fun together. Special thanks to our producer, Morgan. He's the best. And our crew, mods, screeners, our Patreon producers. You can go to patreon.com/calltheline for extra content and all kinds of other things. And I'm going to eat my gummy bear now because I finally can.
Finally.